Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Grant and I'm from Glasgow, and I last year for the 48-hour film challenge I made Scare for the Edinburgh competition, which came second at Filmapalooza. This was long before COVID was a thing, but just because of circumstances I made the film almost entirely myself. My partner was my sound designer and composer, and he was also a fantastic stand-in. And that was it. I had a friend rock up on the Sunday morning hungover to do the color correct, and yeah, that was it. That was our really small team, and we still are very proud of the film that we managed to make. So I know that you are about to embark on a 48-hour film challenge with some even crazier restrictions, so I wanted to give a little bit of advice on how to make a great 48-hour film with a tiny team. So I have 5 tips that I have written down. The first one, which is simply about focus. So I had 2 cameras that I could use, and I chose the lesser quality one, but it had a fantastic autofocus and a flip screen, so it meant that I could actually self-shoot much easier than using the full frame camera, although sometimes I did do that, but I was really lucky to have someone else in the house that I could use as a sit-in for me while I focused up and composed the shot that I wanted to. If I did not have that sit-in, but I still had a camera with a great autofocus, I could have made the whole thing myself. So just know your limits and know what's going to be easiest for you in the long run. The second one is, if you are writing, directing, performing and editing and you're doing all these multi-roles, you cannot do this in 48 hours without sleep. So when you are making your judgments on how much time you're going to need for stuff, make sure that you're getting about 6 hours of sleep a night. I know that sounds like absolute sacrilege to sleep at the 48-hour, but trust me, if you set yourself those limits and say that you're going to get that amount of sleep every night, then when it comes to the Sunday afternoon, when you're putting the final touches on your edit, things are going to be so much better, and you're going to thank yourself for making sure that you carved out that time to actually get the rest that you need to make the film. That's if you're doing everything yourself. If you can hand it over to someone who is fresh as a daisy, please do that. One thing that I found very useful was to, before the competition started, take a real inventory of the spaces that I had available just in my flat. I knew that I had a bedroom, I had a kitchen, I had a living room. Just outside my house there's a park, and just outside my house there's also a bus stop. I took advantage of all these things, but knowing what spaces are available to me was really helpful. Also, one thing that if you watch the film back, you realise there's a little thing that looks a bit like a photography studio. I call it the black space, and all it is that I ordered some cheap king-size black bed sheets online, and I nailed them to the wall so that I had this very custom-built space that I could do some more conceptual photography, which ended up being a godsend and making things look really useful for the film that I ended up making. So you can create small spaces in your living space that are going to be useful to you if you're prepared. The fourth tip is about writing. So for Scare, it's a monologue. It's internal monologue. I didn't have to record any location sound, and that really helped for me. I'll show you what it is. This was all I did for Scare. So this is the monologue on one page, and this is a table with the shot list that is broken down and color corrected into the spaces that I was going to be using. So no script, no proper shot list, no call sheets, nothing, and I would have driven myself crazy trying to make those things. So you can simplify it right down and it's still going to work for you. You just got to make sure that you're using your time and simplifying things as much as you can to use your time as best as you can. And the last tip is that do not be afraid of the restrictions that have currently been put on place on you. The 48-hour is about making a film under ridiculous restrictions. You have to make a film in 48 hours. That is bonkers levels of restriction. So what are a couple more? You already have to make so many sacrifices and to think very creatively in order to get this done in this allotted space of time. just think that these are just another couple of restrictions that just means you're going to have to be a little bit more creative to get around them. So don't think of them as something that's going to stop you from making a great film, because it's not. It's just something else that's going to have to challenge your creativity. So don't think of it as a bad thing, think of it as a good thing. Also, when you're given too much choice, sometimes it's hard to write. I always find if I pull a genre like comedy, it's more difficult for me because you can do so much with that. But if you have something that's very narrow, like politics film de femme, or time travel, or something that's a lot narrower, it's easier to come up with a story that would fit that. Think about these restrictions as going to narrow you down to your perfect story. Think of them as they are going to help you. So all I can say is I hope that it goes well for you. I can't wait to see your films. It's been great to see 48-hour films still happening in the current climate, and best of luck. I hope you do well.